Can't find your ancestor in the census record? Census record didn't survive for your ancestor's area? Well, you're in the right place, and I've got the video for you. Hi, I'm Lisa Lisson with Are You My Cousin, where I take the overwhelm out of your genealogy research. Now, before we start talking about why you can't find your ancestor in that census record and what you can do about it, hit that subscribe button down below. Would love to be able to have you not miss any new videos that I post here each week in the Are You My Cousin YouTube channel. Okay, so let's talk about your ancestors and not being able to find them in a census record. Now, maybe they were missed, maybe they were dodging the census taker, maybe the census record simply didn't survive. Classic example of that would be the 1890 census. But there's some areas around that also had specific years that didn't survive. For instance, in I believe it's the 1810 census for Halifax County, Virginia, for whatever reason, that particular section did not survive, and we can't seem to, we're not able to use that as part of our research. So there's certain times in small areas where, something happened, who knows what, and the record isn't just simply not available. Now, does that mean that your research is stalled out? Absolutely not, because you can use alternate records as substitutes for that census record, and I'm going to share with you a few of those. Now, probably the number one record that I use first when it comes to needing a census record substitute is probably going to be a tax list. Now, at this tax list, because the government, the local and county government and the state government, they needed their money to run. So they were very diligent about collecting taxes and keeping a list of who paid, who didn't pay. Now, this is not going to be a full substitute for a census record. Obviously, it's going to be predominantly men. And what you're going to need to know is who was required to pay a tax and what they were being taxed on for that particular location that you're researching and for that particular time period. And that's crucial, because just because your ancestor does not show up on that tax list does not mean that, one, they weren't in the county, or two, that they were dodging the tax collector. They simply may have met the exemption requirements. So you have to make sure you understand that piece of the puzzle. So it's not necessarily going to, as I said, replace a full census record, but it can give you a list of a subset of that community. And if your ancestor is in that tax list, you're golden. You've got what you need. So that's going to be very helpful. So check out the tax list. Next, check out city directories or town directories, because obviously this is a listing of the residents, and this can actually be sometimes depending on where you're at, a fuller picture of that community than a tax record. So check for a city directory. If you are researching ancestors in a small rural town, check the directory for the larger town closest to it. Sometimes what I'm seeing and what readers have reported to me is that they are finding some of those smaller outlying communities tucked into the back of the larger city's directory. So go ahead, if you're not finding that city directory for that smaller area, check in the larger cities as well. Now again, these directories, make sure you understand what they are directory for, what they encompass. Do they include the smaller outlying areas, or do they simply include who is within that city limits? So make sure that you're understanding who is actually included and who is not included. Another good substitute for a census record would be a voter registration list. Now again, like the tax list, this is not a complete listing of everybody in the county. This is going to be a listing of people who have registered to vote. So one, they have to be eligible to vote. So if your ancestor was not eligible to vote, they're not going to appear on that tax list. That voter registration list. That doesn't mean they weren't there. It just means they are not on that particular list. So make sure you know who could and couldn't vote before you start looking for your ancestor in that list. Military lists are another great resource where you can find ancestors in lieu of the census, using the census record. Obviously, this is going to be men predominantly, and so this is not where you would go to look for your female ancestor, but if you have the military list for that county or that area, that's a great place to find people. As you can see, all of these substitutes are pretty much a list of subsets in that community. And so when you can find those subsets, those are the ones you want to look for. You can use the non-population schedules to look for your ancestor as well if your ancestor does not show up on a regular population census. So you could check, these would be like the agricultural schedules, the manufactural schedules, the DDD schedule, mortality schedules. Those are records that you can access as well if for some reason you're just simply not finding them in the regular population census record. There you have it, guys. 5 alternate records to use when you cannot find your ancestor in the census record. So go out, explore those resources, and best of luck. But before you go, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button down below, or simply share this video with your other genealogy friends. I'd love for other folks to get a chance to view it if you think that it would be helpful to them. All right, have a great day, guys. Bye.